Welcome to 2024 Our Story, a podcast exploring what it's like to be attending Scripps College in a moment when the world is recovering from a global pandemic. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Alyssa. And today, Ellen and I will be answering the question, what is SCORE?
Yeah, we've talked about SCORE before since our podcast is produced through The Office, but we haven't had the chance to really dive into what SCORE, or as we call it in our end sequence, Scripps Communities of Resources and Empowerment, really is. Due to the pandemic, our staff is almost entirely new, and there's a lack of knowledge of SCORE's origins, so we wanted to shed some light on how SCORE got to where it is now.
To do that, we're going to give you a broad overview of the steps taken to create SCORE.
Woo.
Yay!
We're really good at cheering, everyone.
So, SCORE was born out of radical student activism. So while there were other factors that assisted in the formation of SCORE, its emergence out of previous diversity programming was in response to the student-organized Whose Voice, Whose Vision teach-in.
Yes, but going back to the beginning, in the 1990s, in response to financial challenges that could threaten Scripps, President Nancy Beckovic and the Board of Trustees sought to reimagine the college. During the time, diversity was identified as an area for growth.
Following this, in 1999, the Multicultural Resource Center, or MRC, was formed. The MRC was a precursor office to SCORE.
To be clear, Scripps did have identity clerks before the MRC was formed. In the 1970s, clerks such as the Black Student Union, Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, and the Asian Student Association were formed.
Yeah, that's really important to note. In general, the beginnings of race-based spaces on college campuses as we know them today grew out of two movements in the mid-late 1900s, the civil rights movements and the rise of student protests on college campuses. The first race-based groups formed at Scripps were after these protests.
Back at Scripps, in 2001, it was Scripps' 75th anniversary, which they titled Women of Voice and Vision. This anniversary celebration coincided with the Capitol campaign, and in March of 2001, Scripps College presented the Blueprint for Diversity to the Irvine Foundation. It's unclear why Scripps did this, but some of that money from this allowed for the creation of SCORE.
In June of 2001, Scripps received a grant from the James Irvine Foundation to support the school's Blueprint for Diversity. The grant was for $80,000 and was distributed from 2001 through 2003.
That's crazy. We were born in 2002.
Wow,
Look
some
at
of that money was being spent.
Oh my gosh! Then, in October 2001, the Whose Voice, Whose Vision teach-in was held at the Motley. Representatives from Women of Color clerks and the MRC participated in a panel to air their grievances with the MRC and the Dean of Students, and to make demands for the future of diversity of Scripps.
These demands led to Scripps Communities of Resources Empowerment, or SCORE, being officially founded. Yay!
Yay! And we work here now. But yeah, that was a general overview of the history of SCORE, and if you're interested in learning more, we recommend going to the Denison Library to look through the archives of SCORE.
Yeah.
Alyssa did a project on that, so she's had firsthand experience going through that.
Yeah, it is actually really interesting. There's a lot to kind of dig into, specifically things regarding the Whose Voice, Whose Vision teach-in, and there's also a video, I believe, that if you're interested, I think you can go to Denison Library and ask for it, because I watched part of it, and it was really, really interested. And given the Motley just reopened, it was really cool to just kind of look at it and be like, wow, look at all these changes that students were able to make just sitting at the Motley and just discussing.
I know ASP was recently given a new office in, I think it's Route? Somewhere on the other side of SCORE. And they had moved out from ASU, so we had the recordings that were on literal tape recorders are all stacked in that office, and it's a lot of history.
Wow.
I feel I wonder if the other clerks have that. We should ask.
I mean, given that what you said earlier, the Asian Student Association, as it was called before, was here at Scripps so early on, they probably have a lot of history and a lot of stuff to say.
Mm-hmm. I feel if anything, our conversations about what you learned through this project has really uncovered so much social justice work on our campuses that honestly I didn't know about at all.
Yeah. In my research with my great group in Core 3, shout out to them, because that was a lot of work, but it was really interesting, and we got to look through some of SCORE's old flyers, and there's a lot of actually student activism from SCORE as well. So it was not only a place, I believe, for like these clubs and organizations to kind of like hold their meetings and discuss things, but also like I think just student activism flowed through SCORE. Not like, it's hard to say like not like a lot more than now, because I think SCORE, given the resources that we have and like all of the restrictions of COVID and everything and coming back and having an entirely new staff too, has been a really interesting transition. But it just seemed like, I just think it's really interesting to look at where it began. I don't know.
No, definitely. And I feel like looking at where it began also kind of gets us an idea of what SCORE is now, right? Like, I think based on what you've told me, a lot of this is based on what you've told me.
Oh my gosh.
I should honestly be doing this research myself.
Oh no, if there's anything wrong, it's going to be awful. It's like, oh my gosh.
No. It would also be me not doing the research. That's on me. But I feel like there was a lot more active work that maybe was done here. And I think that's something we as interns are working towards, especially when it comes to programming. I think a lot of questions in the community are about what we as SCORE interns do, because sometimes that isn't very clear, and it's a lot of behind the scenes work that isn't necessarily always visible to the public. And I mean, even like the SCORE space, I've had friends who at this point in the semester we're like basically done, and they're asking me like, what do you even do at work? And like, the SCORE space is like a study space? And I'm sitting there like, yes, you can study here. It's great. We have snacks. It's perfect. I also think it's really important for us to directly address the question, which is, what is SCORE? And in short, we are the diversity department on campus. We aim to create programs and foster a community for underrepresented groups at Scripps, because it does get difficult when you're attending a primarily white institution not to see people who look like you or people who have the same cultural background as you just walking around campus or in the classroom.
Everything that you need about SCORE, or things that you want to know about SCORE, should be in the SCORE link tree in SCORE's Instagram bio, which their Instagram, I'm looking it up. I think it's just SCORE Scripps, right?
Yes, SCORE underscore that's confusing. SCORE underscore Scripps.
It's the only way to say it. Only way to say it. Ellen and I are programming interns, and that basically entails we put on and plan events. Like, I think it's supposed to be like 2 events a month, 2 to 3 events that are focused on, like, we've done a lot focusing on like building community, and they're supposed to be through the lens of social justice and representing underrepresented groups at Scripps. And in addition, I don't think this is usually a part of the position, but Ellen and I obviously also do this podcast.
Yes.
Where we get to chit-chat together.
Spend even more time together. Yeah, I think the podcast was started last year 2020 during the pandemic, because programming interns didn't necessarily have the capability of putting on as many events, or we're trying to find different ways to engage the community because we were online. There was Zoom fatigue, there was so much going on, and they had the SCORE program, or the SCORE podcast, which is separate from our podcast. But I think we definitely worked with Daphne, who was one of the SCORE intern alums, to do an episode for them. But yeah, we definitely focus on trying to bring community to those underrepresented groups at Scripps. And I think that's generally what we do as an office here. That is always the goal.
Yes, and I mean, I believe Ellen and I talked about this earlier, but given the fact that this is technically the first year on campus in a while, we really wanted to focus, specifically last semester, on trying to get people involved and trying to get people to just like be comfortable with each other and be comfortable with coming into the office. It's definitely been a transition year, which has had a lot of difficulties because people aren't used to being on campus and they don't know all of the resources that are available even after the whole year. So hopefully, as we were talking with Emma in the ASU episode, hopefully SCORE here next semester and next year, we will also be able to kind of move a little closer to the original mission of SCORE, given that hopefully people are more comfortable and settled on campus.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've even started doing that already when we...
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we mentioned these in our end credits section. We put on the Yappy screenings, and I feel like we had some really good conversations with some of you all there. And it was really rewarding to have that space, and I think that's definitely something, just as a personal reflection, something that I think we will try and build on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's always really difficult to have tough conversations about identity or what you're going through, just personal experiences, but it's even more difficult when it's people you don't know sometimes. In a way, it depends on the kind of person you are. Sometimes it's easier when it's someone you don't know. But yeah, it was a really rewarding experience. And also, pro tip, side note, I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but Ellen does record these great outros, so props to you if you listen all the way to the end. But they do usually have whatever events that we are putting on, specifically as programming interns. So
yes,
we're not doing any more this semester because it is we are approaching the end. Yes.
Yeah. Other than what we do, SCORE has a lot of other interns. I think there are a total of like 10 of us.
I believe so. We've been adding in different groups though.
Yeah, there's a lot of transition.
Yeah.
Like Alyssa had previously mentioned, we're coming out of pandemic. SCORE is still trying to realize what it is in this new system. Because I think SCORE even was in like limbo right before the pandemic as well. So I think there's a lot of time difference between now and what it was before, which makes it difficult to really navigate what exactly SCORE's role is within this community.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we have Artivism, who make the zine, which is also mentioned in our outros a lot. They make, I think it's one zine per semester.
Yeah, they have zine making parties where you can submit pieces of art, or I believe this semester they focused a little bit more on words.
And
yeah, they put a lot of work into that throughout the semester, and Emma is actually one of the interns, or was one of the interns for that this semester.
Yes. They also have a board. There's a board for our sound zine. So even if you're not a SCORE intern, you can still have input on that and be in a leadership position there.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
You learn new things every day.
I do.
Okay, but yes, Artivism, we have the peer educators.
Yes, they do. Peer educators do a lot of usually tabling. I believe Tyrion Fieldhouse also has peer educators.
Yeah, I think both of us do.
I think they're supposed to be a little bit different. For SCORE, they do a lot of tabling. They do a lot of like pamphlet information giving. During Halloween, they did a tabling event that we were able to stop by that was about cultural appropriation. So just a lot of ways for the community to interact in very kind of brief little events, which is really helpful as everyone's usually on the go. You may not always have time to sit for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, they do a great job. They make our playlist, our Spotify playlist for each month. If you've had time to check those out, they're all amazing. And I'm sure they have other things in store for us that I cannot think of at this moment at the top of my head, but I know they've talked to us about other things.
Yeah, on the SCORE Instagram, you should be able to see all of the updates for all of the different programs and things that interns do. But yeah, another really impressive group that they and things that they do is Pomona Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And they collaborate and they go to a local high school.
Yes, I believe it's a local high school, and they go put on programs for college readiness and just skill building, which is really awesome. It's something that we as programming interns don't necessarily get to see physically every time they go, but they do give us reports, and it sounds like they have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to kind of connect with the greater Claremont community, and just if you're interested in like teaching, that could be a really great opportunity.
Yeah, in addition to Pomona Hope, we also have our ARC intern who acts as a liaison between SCORE and the ARC, which is the Asian American Resource Center that is run through Pomona's campus. But a lot of programming is done through that intern, and it is very much in ways overlapping with kind of what we do, but with an Asian American focus to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the great ways that SCORE is able to collaborate with other offices. I think that is something that at least I hope that we're able to do more, just to connect everyone across all of the 5 Cs. It's difficult sometimes, especially with changing COVID-19 restrictions, but
yeah. No, definitely.
We're on our way, slowly but surely.
Yeah. And in addition to that, we have marketing, we have office interns, everyone who helps make SCORE run smoothly. And yeah, I'm sure things will change as time goes on, and I'm sure things will adjust. But that is currently our internal structure for those of you who might be interested. And then I think we can also talk about what SCORE space is.
Yeah.
Because I think it's hard and kind of intimidating for people to come in and see the space, because it is kind of hidden.
It is. We will be also posting something after this episode comes out that has pictures of SCORE, just a couple to get you kind of to know where it is and what it looks like. Normally, we have office hours from 9 to 5 where you can come in and you can study. Sometimes interns will be doing their hours here and working. But yeah, we have really nice couches. They really sink, though. Like, when you sit on it, they're very squishy.
True. That is true. You don't expect it. The first time is always unique.
Yeah.
You sit there, and then you fall backwards into the couch.
But it's very comfortable. You just don't want to leave after.
It makes our in-person meetings very difficult. We just want to sit there for forever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, SCORE is located right across from Frout, or the Frankel route location, and we have coffee and tea, mostly tea now. That's outside of SCORE. If you come in, you can have that. And yeah, and Alyssa's already covered this. It's a study space. We have snacks. We have some drinks. Just trying to build a space where you can build community, at least for the Clorgs, but also just come and relax and get away from the rest of the world.
Yeah. And I know that for those who may have known SCORE before the pandemic, it is a change right now. The office, just like what we're able to do. And again, it's been a transition year. I know that there's been some traditions in the past that SCORE has done, such as community dinners, which to me, as I have never been able to participate, unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, I really hope that we will be able to start having kind of events or things that we do that can help bring the broader community of Scripps and the 5 Cs to SCORE. So that should be really exciting. I hope, well, traditions change, but we'll see. Hopefully we can do something like that. And food always brings people together. That has been a big obstacle.
Yeah.
For programs this semester and last semester.
We could tell you about that. That is a whole different episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to want to keep the community safe and follow guidelines. It is very difficult sometimes to get people engaged when it is a hybrid situation, as many of you may know just from having hybrid classes or just transitioning from in-person and online. But yeah, hopefully we have high hopes, or I have high hopes for being able to eat food with people and see their faces maybe next a little bit more.
Yeah.
Outside or however
it works out. Yeah, I think there's so much that's up in the air in terms of changes that'll happen in terms of score and kind of revisions of things and kind of evolution through time. But I hope that this episode has given you all some more insight into what score is, what exactly we do.
Yeah.
And try and just make it less intimidating to come in and join us in advance or just coming into the space, because that's something that has been difficult, coming back and having this space that's unknown.
Yeah, I mean, as this is unfortunately our last episode of this season, and the last podcast episode we'll be releasing for this academic year, we know that finals are coming up or are happening right now for a lot of people, and we also just wanted to put this out there and talk about the score space to just kind of offer it as a place for people to study for finals, or just, like Ellen said before, get away from everything, because it's a pretty peaceful office. So highly recommend if you need some quiet studying time.
I mean, Alyssa's touched on this. This is our final episode of the season.
Oh.
Final episode of the academic year. We've officially been doing this for 2 years. A year and a half.
A year and a half.
Year and a half now. But we should preface everything that we go into the next year by saying that we are unsure what exactly is going to happen in terms of release schedule. Because I will be studying abroad in the fall, and Alyssa will be studying abroad in the spring, so we won't physically be with each other during that time. I know, we're both upset about that. But we are going to find a way to make it happen.
Yes, and hopefully we'll be able to hear, at least in the fall, we'll start to hear some of Ellen's exciting study abroad stories.
I know.
She can tell us all about ice cores.
Oh my god, the most exciting part of my entire trip. But, yes, we hope that you all are staying safe. Good luck with your finals or whatever other work you have to finish up for the semester. Congratulations to seniors who will be graduating. A special shout out to all of the SCORE intern seniors. You all are amazing, and we've really loved working with you.
Yeah, I mean, keep it in there, guys. You're almost there. Super close. I know it's a lot, but you guys got this. We believe in you.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. Thank you so much for interacting, for those just in identity clorgs and people who we've seen in the SCORE office. It's been really nice to get to know people this year in person. And yeah. 2024 Our Story is published through Scripps Communities of Resources and Empowerment. This episode was edited by Ellen Hu, and Instagram graphics are designed by Alyssa Wend. Callie is courtesy of Wadaboy on Pixabay. If you're interested in joining us on an episode, please fill out the Google form available within our Linktree. You can find that link as well as more content on our Instagram page at 2024 Our Story Podcast. As the school year closes out, the SCORE team would like to thank our community for engaging with us through programs and online content. SCORE programming will continue in the fall. We're wishing you all the best as final season approaches and hope that you have an amazing summer. That's everything we have for you today. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back with you soon. Bye!